Hi, I'm Myron Katz, an energy consultant and building scientist, and I'm really excited to introduce you to Customer Lowered Electricity Price, or CLEP. CLEP is a relatively simple but revolutionary electricity pricing method that's going to change how electricity is bought and sold so that we can ultimately improve the economy while cutting carbon emissions. CLEP is going to provide a path to a renewable energy future. CLEP is so simple yet so powerful. It has three big win-win ideas. 1. Utility pays customers for buying electricity when wholesale prices are low. Utility pays customers for avoiding demand when delivery costs are highest. And the utility buys electricity from customers when wholesale prices are high. Now I'm going to explain how it works. What is CLEP? CLEP does not replace the regular electric bill. Implementing CLEP only requires a utility-powered smart meter. CLEP is a voluntary program that generates a cash flow for the customer, which is an exactly defined fixed fraction of utility company's savings caused by a customer's action. CLEP is not subsidized. In fact, the only subsidies are from CLEP customers to non-participants, the opposite of a normal subsidy. This is because the rest of the utility savings go to all customers. That's the point and reason for the name, Customer Lowered Electricity Price. CLEP payments accumulate every 5 minutes, but only pay out monthly. CLEP's generic benefits. CLEP lowers costs for every customer by buying wholesale electricity when it's cheapest. The cheapest electricity comes from renewable energy sources. The great thing about this is that renewables don't create carbon emissions. However, renewable energy often makes electricity when there's little to no need for it. That's where batteries come in. In order to get the most value from renewable energy, lots of batteries are needed. The needed batteries are expensive, but CLEP provides a good way to finance batteries and thereby makes the whole process work. What drives CLEP? CLEP creates the momentum to market or drive CLEP. Motivated by the opportunity to enhance this income stream, people will make ever greater investments in their buildings or in community solar farms. This lowers utility costs substantially because it causes utility to buy more electricity generated by renewable sources. This lowers carbon dioxide production and further lowers customers' costs. Our calculations show that CLEP can triple the income from rooftop solar. By working so well with solar farms, it can triple the number of people who have access to solar. It can finance batteries in buildings, including whole home batteries. Batteries use will help support more wind farms. Consequently, CLEP supports all renewables, whether local or remotely sited. Here are 4 examples of how CLEP can be used. Each example displays outcomes. The first are capital costs and annual savings, both in dollars and carbon dioxide. The examples in this slide include an average dishwasher, a tanked water heater, community solar, and whole home batteries. Here's a dishwasher example. There is a 0 capital cost because you already own such a dishwasher. The average dishwasher costs about $65 a year to operate. Assume that we'll set the dishwasher to turn on at 2 a.m. on most mornings. Using it this way, CLEP will pay you $26 a year just for washing dishes at night. The $26 comes from 2 cash flows, $6 from using cheaper than average wholesale electricity, and $20 for avoiding demand during peak demand hours. We can call this payment a kind of negative demand charge since the utility is paying you for avoiding demand. Since little to no CO2 is generated because wind farms supply most of the electricity, there is a very small carbon footprint. Fossil fuels would have created 800 pounds of carbon to run your dishwasher, and that's why that's the amount that's indicated. Non-energy efficiency retrofits can be much more cost-effective than energy efficiency retrofits, and that's because an energy efficiency retrofit means something that reduces kilowatt-hour consumption. However, in this dishwasher example, there was no kilowatt-hour saved, but because of the time of consumption, money was saved. Thus, CLEP gives us a completely new income stream that is awarded only to CLEP customers. However, CLEP typically doubles the income realized for the owner of an energy efficiency retrofit. In the next example, involving a water heater, it more than doubles that income. Here's a tank water heater. Any tank water heater will do the job of getting optimal income from CLEP. However, some do it better. This is because a water heater can be easily controlled to charge overnight. This is a different but far more cost-effective kind of battery. It's not an electric battery, it's a thermal battery. Charging this battery at night, that is heating water for showers later in the day, can have a zero carbon footprint because the electricity drawn upon to heat the water could be generated at wind farms. Only via CLEP will such purchases also result in lower energy bills. However, because the most energy efficient water heater is a heat pump water heater, in this case, we'll assume that's the kind of water heater. And in that case, the capital cost is $1,000, and the annual savings from CLEP is $250 and 3,600 pounds of carbon dioxide. Okay, community solar. That's one of the branches of our tree. Community solar is a solar power plant that is sited within the utility distribution area and is created when the solar array is shared by more than one customer. It's also important that the electricity is sold at the retail price. Community solar is way cheaper than any other solar project, but community solar has problems that CLEP is uniquely qualified to solve. Let's talk about those problems. Well, one of them is about solar farms. In this case, in this talk, when I say solar farm, I mean a grid scale farm, that is of around 1 megawatt, big enough to service about 200 residents or even bigger. Although community solar doesn't have to be that big, for the purposes of this video, a community solar farm means grid scale community solar. A community solar farm defeats many barriers to solar ownership suffered by rooftop solar. What are they? Well, and as a consequence, community solar increases the number of customers who can own solar by a factor of 3. What are the barriers to rooftop solar? Well, first of all, rooftop solar is twice as expensive, and it excludes 75% of the population because of special requirements such as building ownership, no shade, new roofs, and a willingness to finance over long payback times. Okay, so if a solar farm is designed to operate by selling electricity at wholesale prices, chances are it will not be built at all because the numbers do not work. Another way to say this is a solar farm is not economical if the sales are at wholesale prices because the cost of making electricity is too close to or even higher than the wholesale price. The details of all those facts are inside this slide. I just gave you the overview and most important stuff. Okay, so this slide's about net metering. The most thing that you need to understand about this slide is that net metering credits customers at retail rates for the electricity they generate. However, it's also important to note that net metering is the standard way of financing community solar, but it's becoming increasingly less popular because many think that net metering customers are being subsidized by charging part of the income that they get from or by non-net metering customers. Those people have to pay the way of the net metering customers, and that is a problem that many people think is why net metering isn't going to be continuing to be used. But since net metering is the primary way of financing community solar, the demise of net metering can be the demise of community solar. That's where CLEP comes in. How does CLEP do this? First of all, CLEP has a specific definition just for community solar. And CLEP pays customers who generate electricity in a community solar farm at or above retail rates. But the most important detail is that CLEP can't be conceived as a subsidy, as I explained when we talked about the definition of CLEP many slides back. This is a problem that CLEP doesn't have, but net metering does. So CLEP helps protect solar community solar economics. The first cost for the average participant is $5,000 for about 5 kilowatts. The annual savings are about $800 a year. Since all the electricity is generated by renewables, roughly 10,000 pounds of carbon is saved per year. Now the details to explain how all that is figured out is in this slide. I'm just going to let you read it if you want to. Okay, so the last of the examples is the whole home battery use. The fact that there is very cheap wind generated electricity and it's generated at night is one major reason alone to invest in batteries for storage purposes. Deep investments of batteries are somewhat financed by cheap wind farm energy, and synergistically these purchases help wind farmers as well. However, the main cash flow to support battery purchases are not energy purchases, but it's from the large negative demand charges batteries generate. This is because if the batteries allow the resident to avoid making any demands for electricity except at night, then all demand during peak hours is avoided, and CLEP pays very well for this effect. Let's talk about battery economics. First of all, the first cost is about $10,000 a home, and the annual CLEP savings are around $1,000 a year and over 12,500 pounds of carbon dioxide saved. These numbers may greatly underestimate savings by a lot because it's hard to estimate how much and how expensive afternoon high carbon electricity is avoided when hundreds of these batteries are aggregated. One way to size and use a whole house battery is to charge it for 4 hours at night and then stay connected to the grid for the next 20 hours. Such batteries are currently warranted for 3 deep cycles per day for each decade. Okay, let's look at some of the less obvious aspects of CLEP economics. One might think that community solar is the most lucrative use of CLEP, but it's not. Dishwashers are because there is no upfront cost. Or they are a bit small, but they still are the most cost effective. Second to that is the heat pump water heater because it pays back in 4 years. Community solar pays back in 7 years, and batteries at first sight might appear least lucrative because they take over 8 years to pay back, but that is without the added enhancement of being able to avoid high-priced, high-carbon afternoon electricity. When this is included, battery return investment could easily be the best of all. Well, except, of course, dishwashers because they have no upfront cost. Okay, to recap, our calculations show that CLEP can triple the income for homeowners of rooftop solar. CLEP works so well with community solar farms because CLEP can triple the number of people who own solar. CLEP can completely finance batteries in most buildings, including whole home batteries. Deeply deployed batteries help support more wind farms. Consequently, with all those together, it's easy to understand that CLEP supports all renewables, whether local or remotely sited. Okay, here we are again at the 4 examples of how CLEP can be used insofar as capital costs, the annual savings both in dollars and carbon dioxide. These include the average dishwasher, a tanked water heater, community solar, and whole home battery. This slide is also meant to emphasize the primary goals of CLEP, which is to reduce to reduce the cost of electricity and to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide produced. However, the primary investments are inside of 4 groups. The non-energy efficiency retrofits, which we can see from the example, could be the most cost-effective, but may also be very small. The second kind is the energy efficiency retrofits, which have first cost paybacks cut in half in the presence of CLEP payments. Although these are much larger than the non-energy efficiency retrofits, this kind of money-saving tool is also limited in size. Community solar is the cheapest and best way to get the largest number of owners of solar, and the road to this goal is uniquely provided by CLEP and not by the traditional tool, net energy metering. Even though community solar farms is not even the second most cost-effective way to use CLEP, it is mostly unlimited in application and size. Finally, battery installations at first seem to be least cost-effective, but may well be the most cost-effective because of the hard-to-calculate expensive afternoon electricity. And that concludes our short overview of CustomerLoweredElectricityPrice, innovated by me, Myron Katz, a building scientist. Here is a relatively simple but powerful concept for transforming how energy is bought and sold that will improve the economy while cutting carbon emissions. You may send him an email at the listed email address on the slide, myron.katz@energyradar.com, for the answers to the deeper questions, or if you want to hear the long story with all the details and worked examples. Bye, and thank you for listening.